Ladies and gentlemen, the following episode is scheduled for one fall. Coming down the aisle are your hosts of In The Kliq, Baby Huey and BrianTronic.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and joining me once again is my tag team partner, BrianTronic. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Huey? Back again for another episode. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. Well, you got me excited earlier of your IG stories. I saw that, and I was like, oh my God, here we are. It is the week of WrestleMania, I guess, technically, right?
Yep.
You posted your IG story. It said it was a screenshot, right? Or a photo of inside SoFi Stadium of like the set for WrestleMania 39 being built out. And you said, I will see you in 6 days, which got me all excited. Anticipation. It's here. We are WrestleMania week. We're recording this on a Sunday night. And yeah, actually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, in 3 days, you and I will be down in Los Angeles getting ready for all the festivities, getting ready to cover everything going on that week. But here we are, man. Yeah, what are your thoughts right now? It's WrestleMania, baby.
It's crazy because on one end it feels like, WrestleMania. I guess for me, after Raw, it's just okay. Maybe after the go home Raw, it'll start to feel a little more like WrestleMania. But like when I see this, when I see the photos and the videos of the set being built inside SoFi Stadium, I'm like, wow, like it's really that time. It's that time when everyone starts posting, the set being built, right?
Yeah, no, that is true. That's like the official, unofficial, or kickoff to WrestleMania week. The set is being built down at SoFi Stadium. And I see just a lot of people posting stuff, kind of posting their itinerary, what they're going to be doing. Like, a lot of
packing tweets.
Yeah, a lot of packages. I was just going to say, last week I tweeted out, I have so many wrestling shirts. I don't know which ones to bring. Like, I might just have one luggage just for my jeans, my shoes, underwear, socks, all that stuff. And then another piece of luggage with all my wrestling shirts. But I've been doing laundry all weekend, just washing all my shirts, getting everything ready, hanging things up, folding stuff. And so now it's just a matter of throwing everything in a piece of luggage and making the drive down there, which I'm actually excited for the drive as far as, we're benefiting. You and I were based in the Bay Area for anyone who doesn't know. But yeah, for us, it's just I'm glad to make the drive down this time around versus flying. Just that way we have a car and, we can be a little bit more mobile. And it just kind of be our own schedule as far as when we want to leave, when we want to go somewhere. It's just kind of nice. So
yeah,
I'm excited, man. So we're still waiting to hear back on some details about our itinerary. But as always, make sure to follow us on social media. Follow Brian at BrianTronic, Brian TRONIC, right?
Yes.
I'm doing it off the top of my head. So on Instagram and Twitter. Follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey 83, and of course at In The Kliq, KLIQ, for all of our social media posts. We're going to be doing a ton of stuff, documenting everything, interviews. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts at. But more importantly, and this is really important this week, is please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will be videotaping all of our interviews. Shout out, thank you in advance to our boy Tim from Pro Wrestling Unlimited, who will be graciously on his free time help editing those videos. And once we get those turned around, we will upload them to YouTube. You can watch them. We don't know yet who we're going to be interviewing, when, all that stuff. We're waiting to get all the official emails. It's a busy time, but
I'll cry if it's Charlotte. I'll cry.
I might make you just do the interview.
I'll freaking cry.
I'm like, Brian, I can't talk right now. Here, you do it. And you'd be like,
the interview will just be me crying.
You're like, I love you. I've been waiting for this moment. You're the best wrestler on the roster.
I've been paying attention to. I'm like, I hope she doesn't. Please don't do any cricket interviews. Please, please don't do any cricket meet and greets, because that's what happened last time. She couldn't come. That's time. Because she was doing the cricket thing. I'm like, please.
That's right. Because I think, wasn't she on the original email we got that she was going to be there, but then last minute, it was the cricket appearance she had to do. So she was not there. So we're like, oh, bummer. So damn you, cricket. I know they're a big sponsor and everything, but damn you for taking her away from the interview. But I'm excited. It's, a lot to get into. We'll kind of talk about what's happened on Raw and SmackDown. A lot has happened. A lot of matches have been kind of finalized since last time you and I talked about that, which we'll get into. But first things first, we do have some clickbait news to get into. And of course, unless you've been living under a rock or not on social media, the biggest story within the last couple days is one, Mr. CM Punk, Phil Brooks. Man, Brian, like you and I were texting back and forth on this, and there's like so much has happened in the last few days and so much to process. And I'm still trying to collect my thoughts personally on this whole matter with CM Punk and the latest news and his action, his behavior on social media, and just long term, what is this going to mean for him and his wrestling career in AEW? We'll get into all that. So let's go ahead, jump right into it. And I try to take a bunch of notes of what's gone on the last few days. And, please, by all means, Brian, help me out if I'm missing any important details here. I'm trying to keep track of it all. So as we all know, it's been over 6 months since we last saw CM Punk in AEW after he won the AEW World Title at All Out. Yep. During the post-show media scrum, he just set the whole company on fire, calling out everyone, taking shots, which led to the brawl out backstage with the Elite and Ace Steel. You guys know all the details by now about that. That's been well documented, talked about for months on every podcaster, wrestling podcaster, website, all that stuff. So now some stuff has transpired in the last couple days, even the last few weeks. If it goes back to 6 weeks ago, technically, CM Punk, he's very active on Instagram. He likes posting his thoughts on his IG stories, hence why it's very important to follow him. And the second he posts something, watch it because he might delete it right after. So on his IG story about 6 weeks ago, he posted a video about some guy talking about forgiveness. Do you know about this story, Brian? Did you have a chance to check in about this? Do you know what I'm referring to?
A little bit, yeah. Okay,
so it was a 45-second video. Some guy, it was almost like he was like speaking about what forgiveness really means. Yeah. And that he can forgive someone, but doesn't mean you have to let them back into their inner circle to get hurt by them again. So that was the gist of it. You can look it up online if you want to see the video. People screen capture what that video was, but it was some guy saying, he can forgive someone, have no ill will towards them, but doesn't mean we're going to be friends still, which I think that's kind of, I think with a lot of people, I think also the guy said with forgiveness, I think a lot of people think, oh, we're friends again. But no, don't do that. That doesn't work all the time because then you can potentially get yourself hurt again. When CM Punk posted this video, I think a lot of people were, oh, is he willing to, forgive what happened back at All Out? Maybe amend some fences with the Elite and other wrestlers on the roster. So that kind of got the wheels turning about 6 weeks ago that maybe CM Punk is opening up to the idea of forgiveness or apologize for his actions, something, whatever. It's cryptic. And that's the thing, CM Punk and a lot of wrestlers post these cryptic messages and we're all trying to interpret what it means. And then they get mad when people try to speculate what that means. And it's just this vicious cycle in the wrestling journalism and podcast world. So we can only speculate. So, does it mean he wants to do business again with AEW? Does he want to come back? It just got a lot of people thinking, what does that possibly mean? I know it was Dax Hardwood. He recently did an interview with Fightful. And he talked about, his relationship with CM Punk. They've been in touch, contact still. Let's see. In an interview, he said CM Punk is a fan of the Steve Kearns new book, praising it. Even on a comment on social media. Let's see. I'm trying to think what the actual quote is. CM Punk is a fan of Steve Kearns' new book, praising it. And in a comment on a recent social media post, the AEW star who's currently out due to an injury and whose status within the company is uncertain, recently commented on a post from Pro Wrestling Podcast Instagram that referenced Dax Harwood recently saying that the book has made him miss wrestling. That's what it was. Punk wrote in the comments, best book about a fascinating man in a strange business since Brett wrote his book. Great story about Gator and Coco fighting in the locker room. Then Lawler drags him into the office the next day and they squash it. Very fascinating. So the fact that CM Punk made the comment about the Steve Kearns book and talked about this moment in wrestling where two guys were fighting, had to squash it. Got a lot of people speculating maybe CM Punk, who was in a similar situation, fighting with a coworker in the locker room. Maybe he's open to squashing it, trying to. So you see the pattern here.
Yeah.
6 weeks ago, he's talking about forgiveness. This past week, he's talking about past history in wrestling where people were fighting, but squash it in order to come back working together. So people are speculating, is this CM Punk's attempt to let people know he's interested to come back to AEW and willing to apologize and work things out? I don't know. What are your thoughts currently just on that alone? We'll get into more of the details and where it really heats up, but just kind of initial thoughts on that so far.
I wish that it was more, instead of everything being so cryptic and, drawn out for everybody to have to kind of speculate. And look, I guess what can you call it? I know it's entertainment. And I know it's, so you got to be cryptic and, you can't really talk about everything unless behind the scenes, all the details are all, you don't want to show your hand necessarily either. Like, I know Punk's not going to come out and just be like, look, I'm ready to come back. I'm sorry. This is what I want to do. Right. Cause he may not know how the other parties feel, but I just kind of wish that, because I see it every day, all day. It's like, because then that leads to misinformation, people, then reporting, hey, I think CM Punk is ready to come back. And, Punk is, he's talked to Tony and he's done this and da-da-da-da. And it's just like, well, I don't know what to believe, and then you see another cryptic post and it's like, I haven't said that. I haven't said anything, and so you just really don't know who to believe and how to go about it,
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like I said, Dax telling Sean Ross Sapp that, CM Punk's reading his book from Steve Gerwin, that he misses wrestling. And then CM Punk added, taking the screenshot of that quote and saying about the fight in pro wrestling in the past. And people are connecting the dots. Like, okay, maybe he's trying to come back and let everyone know he's interested. Nope, within a few days, it went out the window. Sorry.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and like stuff like that, people will take, Dax telling, Sean Ross or anyone, people will take that and go, oh, I know what that means, right? And it could very well mean, that he wants to come back and he's ready and all that stuff. But it's just, oh man, what happened next is kind of, that kind of blew everything up.
Yeah, so, okay. What happened next was, let me see. First with Dave Meltzer. So Dave went on the Figure 4 weekly message board, and Meltzer said that Punk did not agree to lose to AEW champion Moxley after his foot injury early in the summer. Meltzer also wrote that Punk only went through with plans when AEW president Tony Khan put his foot down. So actually, here's the full quote. He said, quote, Dave Meltzer said, quote, do you know why they didn't advertise Punk versus Moxley longer and why it has short build? Because Punk agreed to it. Then AEW got a legal letter saying he wasn't down with it and wasn't doing it. And they didn't know if he would come until Tony put his foot down. There are a lot of nice things I can say about him. You can absolutely argue his position on Moxley was correct, but you can argue he willingly did what he was asked in that scenario. Okay, so I guess this new quote from Dave Meltzer pissed off CM Punk or got him enraged, and then CM Punk went on to post on Instagram a long quote that he posted on his Instagram stories, but then it was deleted fairly quickly. So actually, let me read. I know it's on this website here, but I'd rather
wonder
read
what the thought process is for, posting and deleting something like that. I mean,
it's like, people are going to see it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's very interesting here. So, okay. So the Instagram story that CM Punk posted was, and I'm reading a quote from the screenshot you sent me. I wasn't cleared to come back to wrestle yet. Then plan was to wrestle at the pay-per-view. I sat and listened to Moxley's Rocky 3 idea. I explained how I never seen a Rocky movie. God, some of these people are grammar. I'm sorry, between Meltzer and CM Punk's, like, it's hard to read some of this stuff. I hope people think it's not me that can't talk. It's literally I'm reading what other people typed here. I thought the idea sucked. I guess he meant I thought the idea sucked. But if the boss wanted to do it, whatever. He said he wouldn't lose to me. I never experienced someone refusing to lose to me. I just laughed. I asked Tony if this was what he wanted. He said yes. He's the boss, so I said, okay, but I need to be cleared first. They kept saying it could just be a squash, so it didn't need to be cleared. I scoffed at that. My health is more important. Dave Meltzer's a liar. Jericho's a liar and a stooge. There were plans, but plans always change, but I'll never put a company above my health ever again. So, yes, Brian, a lot to unpack with that quote alone.
Yeah, so it's hard for me to understand the timeline exactly, because it's been a while. So the foot injury, did that happen before or after? Oh, obviously happened before Brawl Out, right?
Correct. So remember, last May, Double or Nothing, he beat Hangman to become the new AEW World Champion, and then within the following episode,
he had that match with FTR. Right?
Yeah, but when he came out to the ring, that's when he jumped in the crowd, and that's when he broke his foot.
Got you.
So that was end of May, beginning of June when that happened. And then he was gone for a few months, came back in August. In August, that's when he had the squash match, like 10 days before, a week and a half before All Out. Lost to Moxley, got squashed. The following week, he had that promo with Ace Steel in the ring where Ace Steel was trying to fire him up, get him ready. And then a few days later, they had the match at All Out where Punk beat Jon Moxley, became new AEW, or excuse me, I guess became AEW champion again because he technically never lost the title. Moxley was interim champion all summer. So it was, remember, champion versus champion technically at All Out.
Right. Which was when Mox was supposed to take his vacation.
Exactly.
He was supposed to go away. Okay.
Exactly. And then, as we know, Punk, even though he beat Mox and solidified his place as champion, still got injured. And then Mox had to, so for a second time in 2022, Punk got injured. Mox came back, couldn't go on his vacation, became champion again, and was champion for months after that, as we all know. So, twice Punk gets injured. Mox comes in, saves the day, becomes champion again. So, and then remember, Mox cut that promo after Brawl Out on Dynamite and called out, the locker room and stuff, cut that heated promo where he was upset about what's going on. It's like kids are running the place. So, okay. So just to clarify, well, for me, the biggest shocker, which I've seen a lot of people say this as well, that the fact that CM Punk's never seen a Rocky movie. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Like he's in his mid 40s.
And he tweeted that he had never seen a Rocky movie. Back in
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
So even up to this point, for him to have not seen one is pretty crazy.
So in 12 years of that original tweet, he still hasn't seen any Rocky movie. Like, I if I had some more time, I could maybe think of some franchises I've not seen that I think everyone else has seen, which I get, but it's like, dude, someone who's like all about pop culture and stuff, he writes comics, and he's all about combat sports and MMA and boxing. I thought he would have seen all the Rocky movies, or at least one of them at some point. Rocky 1 is a classic. I really enjoyed Rocky 2. Rocky 3 was awesome, just more or less. So for anyone who's not seen Rocky 3, which I guess maybe if you're under the age of 25, maybe you've not care about the Rocky franchise. And I know for me, a lot of younger people, the Creed franchise is like the new thing for them. But as you people should know, that it is connected to the Rocky universe. But Rocky 3, it was all about Rocky just going on a tear, winning a bunch of fights, being champion post being Apollo Creed in the second one, and just being successful. Come to find out from Mickey was just his old trainer hired you've seen Rocky 3, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Rocky or Mickey admits to him that he just got a bunch of bums to fight him just to, add more wins to his title reign and win-loss record. And then Clubber Lang was the big bad that came out of nowhere that wanted to challenge him and destroyed him. And unfortunately, Mickey passed away after that match because they got a scuffle in the back and he got pushed to the ground and Mickey passed away. And so Rocky got his ass handed to him by Clubber Lang and then, loses his trainer. And then Apollo, his former foe, turned like his best friend, says, I'll be your new trainer, but you got to come train how I used to. They go to LA. And they go to the gyms there and takes them to the hooded gym. And he says, see all these young guys here? They all have the eye of the tiger. and so, they just, the whole training, it's like, you got to get back your edge. You got to get the eye of the tiger if you want to fight Clubber Lang. He's hungry. You got to be hungry like him. Just amazing. Probably one of the iconic montage of them working out together and just getting fired up. And then sure enough, Rocky gets his mojo back and beats Clubber Lang and so, that was the main point of Rocky 3. So I think they were trying to recreate that. And based on what we saw on TV, as we saw, so like 10 days before All Out, Punk Mox wrestle. Mox destroys him in a squash match. Remember, he tried to do the kick, fell down, grabbed his foot. Mox beat him up. And he loses. Then the following week, Ace Steel, like his friend / trainer, like pushes him, trying to get him fired up. You gotta win, but you gotta get your win back. And then All Out, he wins. So it's like they told the whole Rocky story in the span of 10 days on AEW TV and pay-per-view, which I felt like it was very poorly executed, if that's the case, which I think you and I last year talked about that. It feels like Rocky, the story. But I think it was very poorly executed. So, let's talk about this. So, Punk posted that IG story explaining his side of the story, what happened, deleted it, then posted a photo of Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon, says, I'm too old for this ass. And so, I know Sean Ross Sapp had some new details. I guess him and Jericho had an argument backstage at All Out. Jericho yelled at him, called him a cancer, which I think that was previously noted before. But there was new heat with Punk and Moxley. I know AEW had to choose between the two. They would choose Moxley, obviously. Moxley was the MVP last year. He carried that company. Every time Punk got injured, Mox was there to come in and be interim champion and put on still amazing matches. So I get the role like last summer. Mox last year, remember, was like a monster. He was unbeatable, very much like Clubber Lang was in Rocky 3. He was just on a tear. So he just seemed unbeatable. So I'm confused though, like why they did this in 10 days, that story. I wonder, and I'm just guessing, I wonder if this really is supposed to be told over the summer, but because Punk's injury, they had to condense it down into less than a 2-week time frame. Like I was trying to figure this out in my head. Like if you're gonna tell this Rocky story, it makes sense for maybe Mox to beat Jericho like early in the summer, and then maybe CM Punk feels like depressed, down on his luck. Ace Steel comes out and try to revamp him, and then maybe they spend the summer trying to build his confidence back up for that match at All Out. Wouldn't that make more sense from a storyline perspective? But
yeah, I think so.
I don't know. Like I'm trying to understand why this was executed so poorly. It just didn't make sense. Like they tried to tell the whole Rocky story in 10 days where they could have easily spread this out over a summer. So who knows? I wish maybe CM Punk, maybe one day, hopefully CM Punk will clarify exactly what happened. Now, as far as Mox not wanting to lose to Punk, that doesn't make sense in a way, because in Rocky 3, if Mox is playing the role of Clubber Lang loses in the end. And as we know, Mox did the job for CM Punk at All Out. He lost to him. Like, I don't get it. Like, maybe Mox wanted to beat CM Punk first, squash him, and then he'll do the job for him later. And maybe Punk, I don't know.
I was going to say that's what it seems like, because I mean, that's what happened, right?
Yeah. So maybe Punk, like he said, he thought he never seen a Rocky movie. He thought the idea was stupid. Maybe Punk did not want to do the squash match and just rather just wait till he's healed and just have the one and only match it All Out versus Mox's idea of like, let me beat you first and then you can beat me at the pay-per-view. So you know what I mean? I'm just kind of confused. Like, Mox saying he didn't want to lose to him is kind of weird because he ultimately did the job for Punk. So I don't get it.
It makes sense considering Punk didn't know what Mox was referring to and what he was trying to tell him in regards to the Rocky story, because he had never seen him. So it didn't make sense to him what Punk was trying to say or what Moxley was trying to say. So I mean, it's, if you put it all together, it's like, okay, Moxley wanted to make this whole big story, right? And he wanted to, and maybe you're right. Like, maybe it wasn't like no malice intent. Like, it's not that he didn't want to like lose to Punk like ever or anything like that. It was just like, no way, maybe we should do this. And it's going to play out a lot better, which some fans got it, right? Like, some fans understood the reference, especially with the whole Ace Steel promo and everything like that. And a lot of fans were fired up after that, So honestly, if that was Moxley's idea, then, credit to him and credit to Tony for sticking through it. But like you said, the fact that it was so rushed is what made the squash seem weird.
Yep.
And, even the eventual, him getting the title back, it just made him and Moxley look weird. It put them in a weird position. Man, in an even weirder position, obviously, after Brawl Out, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first off, I guess, you gotta give kudos to Sean Ross Sapp, because remember over last summer or after All Out, there were details that Punk was not going to show up to Dynamite. Now it makes sense. He didn't like the story, so he was tempted not to show up to the show, but he ultimately did show up. So, you give Sean credit for, his story, fact check did work out or was confirmed. I will say, I mean, there's more stuff we can get into in 1 second, but I do want to say now, when it comes to CM Punk saying this is the last time he's going to put a company over his health, I do agree with him. You should not be forced to rush back from an injury if you're not 100% healed and feel comfortable out there.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, this is CM Punk here. That's ultimately what happened with WWE back in 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
Remember, that was the whole thing he went on Cole Cabana's podcast and vented about, which led to the lawsuit. Was he was venting about his frustration with the doctors in WWE and he had the infection, and they kept giving him and kept putting just Z-Packs on him and not properly helping him get through his illness. And that was, him at the time realizing not to put a company over his health. Now he's doing it all over again. I get it why he'd be frustrated. He just experienced that last time he was in wrestling. He doesn't want to go through it again. So I totally understand that. And if that's the case, Tony Khan or whoever needs to explain himself. It has to be Tony Khan since he's the owner. He needs to explain his action, if that's true and what's going on. I know he said, well, Punk was told it's only a squash match. So just, put on your ring gear and just go out there for a minute and we'll beat you up, air quotes here. But if that's the case, that's not right to force a wrestler back if they're still injured and not fully cleared. So that's something to, hopefully we'll get details soon. The new other update, I know Fightful had a bunch of new updates about CM Punk and his relationship with AEW. Let's see. So Punk has been absent from AEW since the aftermath of AEW All Out 2022. At the pay-per-view, he beat Jon Moxley to win the AEW World Championship, but he suffered a torn triceps during the match. And at the post-show press conference, he took shots at the Elite. leading to a brawl between the two. Everyone involved was stripped of their titles and suspended, while the Elite have returned. Punk remains absent, as we all know. I'm skipping down here. I'm reading this article here. So Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful reports that per sources familiar with the situation, Punk made it clear that he wasn't comfortable competing unless he was cleared ahead of the match on August 24th. There were reportedly issues with the creative in the build to the match, but AEW made special travel arrangements for Punk the day of the bout. The reports note that Punk at least suggested the idea of additional reimbursement because he was competing without being cleared, according to his claims. Sapp cited sources who indicated that Moxley and Punk have appeared to have heat since then. As previously reported, Moxley, Chris Jericho, and Bryan Danielson led a locker room meeting following brawl out, and Punk called Jericho a liar and a stooge in his Instagram post. Jericho and Punk reportedly shouted at each other after the fight, and Jericho is said to have called Punk a cancer. Punk did not say anything about Danielson in his post. Additionally, sources expressed that they believe AEW will likely pick Moxley over Punk if it came down to it. And while the heat on Punk has lessened since All Out, plenty is still there. Oh, man. Wow. Sapp went on to report that AEW and Punk have had some contact, with some sources close to Punk knowing that he and Tony Khan have spoken in some capacity. Sapp wrote that a meeting was planned for mid-February, but that was reportedly delayed to Jerry Jarrett's funeral. Punk reportedly wanted out of his contract without a non-compete clause, according to sources, but these same sources believed in recent weeks that Punk was open to returning to AEW. Per Sapp, at least one person said that Punk was willing to apologize for his actions at the scrum, but it's unclear what context this apology would occur in. Multiple sources said that Punk has expressed some regret for that portion of the situation. However, AEW sources indicated that they lost confidence regarding Punk's return to the company following his Instagram post. As of this writing, Punk remains under contract with AEW. Sapp cited sources who expressed that Punk was hopeful he could be healthy by late January. These sources believe that he'd be able to be cleared now or in the near future. So, Brian, a lot to unpack there. So I interpret it as, Punk was open to coming back, but because of some of his latest issues, now he doesn't want to come back now, or he's frustrated. I don't know. What are kind of your thoughts on that now at this point?
Well, I want to go back real quick to the whole brawl out situation and how the recent posts from CM Punk and everything that's come out. Yeah. And even the report, Sean Ross Sapp put out on Fightful Select, it kind of just makes you look at the whole situation from a different light. Like, okay, you kind of understand, or I would think that, man, okay, Punk obviously was going through a lot. Maybe, whatever differences he had with the Bucks and how they operate and how they, do their jobs behind the scenes, right? Because he mentioned that in the All Out scrum. Obviously, he's got the issues with Hangman and how that whole story played out, and how they're on a personal level, how their relationship was heading, I guess. And then you have, I think Jon Moxley just got caught trying to just make better story, like just trying to make everything between them like entertaining, just trying to pitch a story, and I think by then Punk may have been fed up and probably felt like his back was against the wall. Everybody's against him. This guy doesn't want to lose to me. This guy's got an ego. These guys think they what did he say? They run a Target. They can't even run a Target or a Walmart or whatever.
Oh yeah, manage a Target. Yeah.
They can't. So it's really crazy how you kind of look at everything now that it's all on the table, and it's just like, wow, like, Punk probably really, and then of course the stress and the anxiety and the responsibility that was put on his back, right, as champion, and just him coming back and him being the number one guy, and the ratings grabber, and then just everything that he was, I'm sure, expected to do and be up to that point. But yeah, everything coming out, I feel like it's strange, man. It's a lot. I feel like Punk, should think long and hard about whether he wants to come back or not. And whether he wants to come back or not, I know that's all pending and up to. I mean, I've read Meltzer say it a million times. It's up to Tony Khan at the end of the day on what he wants to do with CM Punk. But I don't know, those reports, all that stuff. See the Instagram post, that didn't sound like he's ready to come back yet, right? And it's crazy because I feel like a few days prior, we had just seen all these reports about, Punk wants to come back. It's up to Tony. Now it's just like, now I got an issue with someone else, Well, and then even I forgot Jericho, being thrown into it, and Meltzer. It's like, oh man.
So it just to clarify, like it sounded like up until a few days ago, Punk was open to returning, but then Meltzer putting on the message board that quote saying that Punk agreed to it, but then got legal letter saying he wasn't down with it, wasn't going to do it. Then Tony Khan to come and put his foot down. It seemed like what Dave Meltzer wrote on the message board set CM Punk off, which led him to post the IG story, explain his side of the story. And now it seems like all this heat between everyone in the locker room has now been reintroduced, is now back in the fold, and now everyone's like, oh my God, here we go again. When we thought things might be getting better, out the window, everyone's mad at each other again.
Well,
so it's like,
see, if you really think about it, one of the main things that Punk said in the beginning, and one of the reasons why he came back, was because of everything that had gone on with Brody Lee and how they kept that close to them, didn't let any of that information get leaked out. Upon other reasons of just AEW being like a family and everybody coming together and stuff like that. Well, this whole mess, right? Like the stories that are coming out, different perspectives and different people saying different things. CM Punk doesn't like that. And he does not like things getting leaked. He doesn't like people saying one thing. He said plenty of times, if it doesn't come from me, don't believe it, right? And so, yeah, I would assume that if he was ready to come back and now he sees what Meltzer posted, it's just kind of, and then now that's kind of got his mind working like, who would tell him that, or why? Where's he getting that from?
And that's the thing. It's like at All Out, the media scrum, he was kind of accusing like the EVPs, accusing like the Young Bucks of leaking it. But then Brian Alvarez was it this week said, I just wanted to let you know, Young Bucks never leaked me anything. And Chris Jericho never leaked anything to him. But the fact that Punk said Chris Jericho or Dave Meltzer is what? Sorry, he said Dave Meltzer. Where's the quote? Shoot, I just had it. He said Dave Meltzer's a liar. Jericho's a liar and a stooge. So is CM Punk thinking that Chris Jericho is Dave Meltzer's source, leaking all this information?
Right.
If that's and then I guess I'm sure he probably thought that after they had the argument backstage and Jericho called him a cancer. I'm sure CM Punk's probably thinking Jericho's the one that's leaking all this stuff. And then therefore, if that's the case, then I'm sure Punk looks a little foolish because remember he originally called out the Young Bucks, accusing them. So now he's accusing the wrong people. So CM Punk, he's mad, he's frustrated, he's mad. People are talking, leaking stuff to the dirt sheets.
Yeah, he might be jumping to conclusions a little bit, but we know Punk to do that when he's at that point, and when you take him there, he will sometimes go over and just be like, forget it. Look, this is what happened. Again, he's a guy who says if it didn't come from him, then don't believe it, right? And he's not afraid, but when he's ready and when he's hyped and amped up, when he sees too much chit chat going around, especially on the internet, he's not shy to speak his mind and say, hold on now.
Yeah. So I think now it makes sense why he didn't back in August was threatening not showing up, because it sounds like he was not happy with the creative and being rushed back from injury so soon when he wasn't cleared, but they made it sound like, there was more to it. yeah, as far as, him being mad at Meltzer and Chris Jericho and Mox, it's a lot to break down. I mean, but Mox, in the past, I don't think he's ever had a reputation for not wanting the job to people. So wherever heat he has with Mox seems to be, a little, doesn't make sense. Mox seems like, a total, locker room leader people like, the company likes. He just signed a new 5-year deal end of last year. Like, he's the MVP of AEW. So that's like the last person you want to be feuding with or having like real life heat with. So I don't know if that really makes sense why CM Punk needs to be mad at him. Doesn't make sense here. I mean, God, there's so many layers to this story.
CM Punk is a WWE superstar at heart.
Well, that's the thing. Also, CM Punk, let's see, Fightful Select also had some new details as far as the whole, incident between Punk, Ace Steel, and the Elite. Let's see, new details saying that like besides Nick Jackson hit with the chair, there was a production employee also hit by one of the chairs during the altercation. But ultimately, Punk, it was revealed that Punk told him and Omega had a conversation. They had no issues with him. So and then that was like afterwards, after everything happened. So I don't know, man. I guess we'll just wrap it up with this. As far as what do you do if you're AEW? Do you bring back CM Punk, try to make it work, or you just cut your losses and just move on completely? So Brian, if you're Tony Khan, what would you do? Nah,
I'm cutting ties. I'm letting him go. I'm letting him walk, and it's a tough decision to make, right? Especially when you got especially now, it's a tough time with the rumors and the speculation surrounding the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega's contracts, right? Mm-hmm. But I would be putting everything into signing those guys back.
Yeah.
And, I know that it's not a, personal thing. Like I'm sure he would love to have CM Punk back. I was going to say everyone. I don't think everyone wants CM Punk back, but I'm sure Tony will want CM Punk back. But you got to think of, the locker room, not necessarily safety, but the camaraderie, the vibe, right? And how much of an impact negatively that'll be on not just the Chris Jerichos. They're gonna do what they do, right? Mm-hmm, they've been in someone like Jericho's been in much bigger locker rooms with much bigger fish with much bigger egos, right? And Jericho's been dealing with politics, I feel like, his entire career, right? Yeah. So you don't have to worry about him, but think about the up and coming, guys and girls who could potentially be like, you know what, my contract's coming up. I don't really want to deal with the politicking. I'm going to go over to WWE, or I'm going to go to Impact, or I'm going to go to Japan or whatever. And I'm going to go, start or finish my career there. Right. I feel like you got to think long term when you think about bringing CM Punk back, and not just right now. I feel like they're doing fine without him. Yeah. Could they use him? Yeah. 100%. I feel like they could use him and he'd be great, obviously. But man,
you're right. You brought up a lot of good points. Like, at the end of the day, is it worth bringing back CM Punk at the risk of the livelihood of your locker room and your company, sacrificing the goodwill you have with everyone backstage just to bring back one person?
Yeah.
And as we mentioned before, like, the big issue here seems to be communication. It feels like CM Punk, there's no excuses for his behavior at All Out in that media scrum.
No.
His grievances with people in the locker room, on the roster, that should have been handled behind closed doors, not him going out there and just venting his frustrations. That made him look like a child, even though he was calling everyone else a child. Like, dude, that was ridiculous. Right. If he's mad that people are leaking stuff, then he needs to tell the owner, tell Tony Khan, talk to people who he thinks might be doing it, have private conversations, and try to squash it that way. And as you said, like, Moxley, Chris Jericho just re-signed long-term deals. the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, their deals are up this year. As you said, those are big names you need to re-sign and keep around long term for the goodness of the company, for AEW's longevity. As you said, it's better to re-sign 4 to 5 people instead of one person that could potentially, do harm to the locker room and to the good vibes in the locker room right now. It's not worth it. And that sucks because I like CM Punk. I was so happy to see him return after all these years. We talked about that many times last year.
He was one of my favorites.
Yeah. And I know he's a ratings draw. And when he was on TV, they did big numbers. But long term, is it worth a little ratings bump versus, pissing off your locker room and maybe losing people over time who, as you said, their contract's up and they just want to go elsewhere and get away from that? It's not. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You can't do it. You can't keep CM Punk around. I don't know if CM Punk will ever learn from this. Now, granted, I'm trying to look at it from his perspective. Yeah, if you work somewhere and you feel like your coworkers are not having your best interest and treating you right and doing shady things behind your back, that sucks too. But you gotta handle that better, though. Like I know for me at my work, if I'm having issues with people, we have private conversations and we sort things out, but I don't go on the radio and just vent my issues to everyone. That's so unprofessional on my part. And so same thing with CM Punk here, man. If you got issues with people in the locker room, talk to them about it. Try to handle this, get it situated. So yeah. So it's, I don't know what's going to happen next now. I don't know if CM Punk could come back now at this point, unless he apologizes to everyone. I don't know. I don't know if there's a solution to this. I think
I feel like Punk has too much ego for that.
Yeah.
I honestly think Punk shouldn't even want to come back at this point either. It's too messy. It's too,
Well, it sucks that 6 weeks ago he's talking about forgiveness, and then a few days ago he's talking about he misses wrestling, and then and then a few days later he lights up wrestling social media and airs more grievances about what happened last summer. So it's just it's this vicious cycle where things are looking good, like one step forward, then 2 steps back. So I don't know what's going to happen. If you're Tony Khan, I think you might have to just cut your losses, let them go, and maybe pay out a buyout or something. I know he doesn't want to non-compete, but you say, hey, if you want to get paid out, you just got to be a non-compete. I don't know if WWE would take him back at this point either. They got plenty of other stuff to worry about. So I don't know. It's really sad, unfortunate, and when CM Punk is wrestling, I think the wrestling business as a whole, from fans, we enjoy watching it, but not at the stake but not at the sacrificing the goodwill with your fellow wrestlers and stuff. It's just not worth it. So, all right, which I'm sure we'll get more updates in the coming weeks and stuff. But for right now, let's get back to focus on WrestleMania. WrestleMania 39 is next weekend. Brian, I'm so excited. So much to talk about since last time you and I talked. There's a lot happened on last week's episode of SmackDown, this week's episode of Raw, and this week's episode of SmackDown, as far as more matches have been declared or finalized. One match might not be happening now, and then try to scramble for other plans. Let's start with the big lead here. Since last time you and I talked, finally, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, back being friends. They hugged it out. They're all on the same page. And then on Raw this week, it was announced they are going to fight the Usos for the tag title. So let's go back, not this SmackDown, the SmackDown before. Quick summary, Cody Rhodes comes out. He's trying to play peacemaker between, and I'm not talking about John Cena's character, but he's trying to reunite Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, trying to talk it out. Kevin Owens says no. He leaves. Sami Zayn runs after him in the parking lot, says, we'll forever be friends, and then I love you. At the end of the night, Sami's getting beat up by the Usos. Kevin comes out, makes the save, beats him up. They hug it out. They're buddies again. So what do you think about that story beat right there of them reuniting? I know some people kind of hit or miss with Cody Rhodes' involvement, but what do you think of how that whole thing played out?
Yeah, I thought it was perfect. I knew that it was some good in having Cody Rhodes involved in the story, because I think Cody Rhodes is involved in the story, whether people like it or not. He wasn't there from the beginning, but ever since he got this championship opportunity, and to fight Roman Reigns in the main event after winning the Royal Rumble, he's inserted. He's in it, right? He's gonna be he's the guy going, the final boss, in his story. And just so happened his story, intertwines with Kevin and Sammy's, right? They both have had really huge opportunities to take Roman Reigns down, to take the bloodline down, and individually, right? And they both weren't able to do it, which was, to Sammy's point, it's just like, that's why we have to come together. And even Cody knows and understands, like, you guys have to come together, right? Like, I'll take care of Roman, but in order to take care of the rest of the bloodline, Cody, I think deep down inside, knows how important it is even for him, right? And I might have said this in a later podcast that we recorded, or a while ago. I feel like Cody Rhodes knows that if KO and Sami take care of the Usos, and possibly Solo, I don't know, then he knows he's going to have a fair, shot at Roman, because not only is the Usos being taken down going to mess with their mental and their confidence, it's gonna make Roman Reigns upset. His mind's not going to be on Cody. It's going to be on the Usos, and the fact that they lost the titles, and, they didn't get the job done, and how much pressure now it is on him to do this for the family, for the bloodline. It goes all the way back to the beginning, and how this started from the get-go, like Roman, and how important it was him being champion. He told Jay in their feud, or in 2020, like, having this championship means that I feed my family. It means that I feed your family, right? It means I'm the head of the table. And so, them being tag team champions was kind of just like the icing on the cake, right? But it made them stronger. It gave the Usos, it gave Jimmy and Jay the confidence that they needed to go and take care of business and do what they do, to do what Roman does, right? Every time he steps in the ring. And so if they don't have that, then it gives Cody that much more of a chance to take Roman down. And so, not to be long-winded, but I really, really enjoy Cody being in this, and Cody even mentioning to KO that, he kind of owes him one, right? Like him going off, and Kevin Owens being the one to point him in the direction of the Young Bucks when he went on his indie run. And so he owes him one. Like, Cody's going to, by any means, make sure that he now points Kevin in the right direction and say, hey, you gotta make good with Sami. You gotta listen to him and get this done. So, man, it was great.
Well, So as far as Cody's involvement, I know some people are like, you could have easily told that Kevin Sami story without Cody Rhodes being there.
Sure.
But for me, it's the overall story is the bloodline taking down the bloodline, and you got this group of guys, the baby faces, the good guys, the heroes, ultimately coming together, realizing if we all work together, we have our different roles on this mission. If we stick together, we can accomplish the overall mission together as one. So for Cody, as you said, you're right. It's like if the Kevin and Sami can take the Usos down, that will be a big blow to Roman's plans, and therefore make things a little bit easier for Cody to take down Roman. And then the whole bloodline crumbles. For me, though, what I think was really important was when Kevin was trying to leave in the parking lot, Sami came out and said, we're always going to be friends. I love you. That's what Kevin needed to hear. He didn't want to hear some guy says, I need you to help me fight the bloodline. No, he wants to hear his brother. He doesn't want to hear Sami saying, I just need you to help beat up the bloodline. It's like, no, I could do that on my own. I want my brother back. Sure, they're not blood related, but they are brothers. They're best friends. He wanted to hear him say he want his brother back, and the fact that Sami admitted, I still love you, that's the message Kevin needed to hear to remind him, okay, you're good again. You're redeeming yourself. I will now join you in that fight. And that's going back to what we talked about before. I know maybe in an alternate timeline or something, Sami Zayn would win the titles from Roman and beat him and be champion. But in this timeline, this universe that you and I live in, Sami did not win the titles, but the bigger story is about relationships and patching things up with your family and friends that matter to you. And sure, seeing Sami being champion would be amazing story, a story beat right there. The bigger story here is about Sami finding himself, who he really is, and reconnecting with his best friend. That's the bigger important story here, which I think a lot of people are forgetting about. With that being said, Cody was playing peacemaker, the middle person, trying to bring them back together. And I think ultimately we know Kevin and Sami, especially Sami, is so over right now to help give that rub. I'm sure the creative team are like, let's give that rub to Cody. So having Cody present gives that Sami Zayn vibe, the rub to Cody that kind of helps solidify him as the top babyface in the company right now. So that doesn't help. I mean, sorry, that helps a lot too. So, so with them reuniting, that was great. On Raw this week, though, you know, they're coming out. They're like, you know, broing it out, you know, saying how much they love each other again. They're getting ready for WrestleMania and they want the tag titles. So the Usos come out and they're like, say, nah, we don't want to fight you guys. But then Jay said, actually, you know what? Let's fight them, because if we fight them, we can finally take them out in this problem of Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens being a thorn in our side. Let's have it. Yes, we will fight you at WrestleMania. So there we go. The tag titles are now on the line. But the big thing was Roman shows up and he wants to meet with everyone. He tells everyone to clear the room, sits with Jay, and he says, hey, you know, you can't be calling shots unless you're part of the bloodline. Are you back in with us? He says, yeah, I'm with you guys. And then they stare at each other. And then Roman tells Jay, I love you. And then Jay leaves. What'd you think about that whole situation in the back there? Is that foreshadowing maybe them having a separate program down the line? What do you think? Because then Paul Heyman came in and said, did you see what you wanted to see? A little bit of a callback when Roman confronted Sami last year. So what do you think about that whole moment?
Yeah, you know, to me, I think it's important. I smiled. I smiled a lot when Roman told Jay that he loved him, because I'm like, oh, okay, this is, you know, now we're seeing this develop. Like, it's like Sami and KO came together and, you know, they're really brothers and they really love each other. And it's just like, you know, Jay, I feel like really wants to be loved. He wants to be accepted. He's been wanting to be accepted. He's been doing all this for, you know, 3 years now, trying to prove to Roman, you know, that he's worthy and that he'll do anything for his family. And, you know, obviously Jay feels some, you know, like there's like Roman has some doubt there, right? And so for him, Roman is just the ultimate like manipulator.
Exactly.
Right. And he knows like how impactful that is. And you know, maybe before something like that would have, you know, been great to hear for Jay. But I feel like now, even the look on Jay's face was kind of like, you know, skeptical, like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Right. Like almost like he just didn't believe him. Like he's on to Roman Reigns too. Like, and I really do feel like there's something more going on. There's something there for as far as a story for them. Cause again, this all started with them, you know, Roman and Jay. And I feel like the bloodline story truly really isn't over until it ends with them. Right. And I don't know how you do it. Because there's no way, you know, I mean, everyone is, you know, obviously expecting Cody Rhodes to beat Roman Reigns and, you know, Sami and KO to win the tag titles. And then everyone's like, oh, the bloodline story is over. There's no way it ends just like that, because really the bloodline story is even though Roman will tell you different, right? Like this is about the championship. This is about, putting food on tables, for our families and stuff. But this is blood. This is family, man. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I think once everyone's kind of like, let's just say Roman loses, the Usos lose, they're really going to be put in a position to see who really is, loyal to the family, right? And who's gonna lift the family back up. And I feel like that would be a really good situation and a chance for Jey Uso to really rise and be like, I'm gonna put us back in position, right? I feel like it'll just make Roman and Jey clash again.
I mean, I'm thinking so it could be like a Bloodline 2.0, like a newer, updated version. I'm always thinking like, remember Nexus when CM Punk, not to talk about him again, when Wade Barrett was the original leader of Nexus, then he got kicked out, and then CM Punk took over and became the new leader, and they kind of rebranded Nexus a little bit. So I wonder if maybe we'll get that with Bloodline, like a new Bloodline 2.0, like some way for them to, maybe that's the story, is like, I wonder what they set up on Raw this week was Roman foreshadowing that he still doesn't trust Jey, and ultimately he'll try to kick out Jey, but maybe Jey is already ahead of the game, knowing that Roman's a big manipulator, and will anticipate that turn and will actually turn on him first and beat him up, and then lead to maybe a program, SummerSlam or something like that. And maybe Jey, could start his own bloodline or some new faction or something. I don't know.
It's going to be somebody's fault if Roman Reigns doesn't leave SoFi Stadium on April 2nd. WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, absolutely. The wrath of Roman Reigns come April 3rd, as Cody kind of mentioned too. So, okay, let's go ahead and talk about that now. So we're talking about Usos, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. That's now lined up for WrestleMania. But actually, before I forget, so on SmackDown this week, ultimately, it was the Kevin Owens show with Sami Zayn. Ultimately, it was just promoting their new T-shirt, the new KO Mania shirt. But on the front, it says what, WrestleZania? Is that what it is?
It says WrestleZania, yep.
So ultimately, the KO show segment this week was just one big commercial for their new merch shirt, which I will admit I will probably go get at some point while we're in LA or something.
Yes, gotta have it.
The Usos came out, ambushed them from behind, beat them up, led to a brawl. So, so that leads to their tag match. But on Raw this week, Roman Reigns was there, showed up, had another face-off with Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes, and they go back and forth. He kept looking at Solo, and he kept telling Solo, "You're not ready for this." What'd you think about the whole back and forth here? So it's interesting. This is what, their second time? I'm trying to remember in the last few weeks, second time having a one-on-one face-off promo. Yeah. Cody's had promos with Paul Heyman in the past. No fisticuffs, no physical interaction between. It's just been words the whole time. I wonder if we'll actually see them lay hands on each other this coming week at some point on the go home shows, or maybe that's all by design. It's like they're going to wait. The first time you're going to see them touch hands and beat each other up is at WrestleMania. What'd you think of this promo on Monday night between the two of them?
It was good, man. And I was wrong, because when I initially watched it, I was like, oh my God, Roman Reigns is destroying Cody Rhodes right now. And this is probably the direction that they didn't want to go in. And I think I was paying more attention to Roman Reigns than Cody. So after it was over, I went on Twitter and I'm like, oh wow, people are like buzzing over Cody Rhodes promo, and I'm like, wait a minute, did we watch the same thing? Because I felt like maybe, I'm like, I don't think this. So I went back and watched it, and I'm like, okay, Cody had some really good points too. He said some things that needed to be said. I like that he said, he told him, don't mention his dad anymore, right? Like he's tired of him being brought up and mentioned. So I thought it was good. I thought it was good. Initially, though, I was like, "Oh man, Roman Reigns," when he brought up, that he went and couldn't get over, and
yeah, no, he said,
"Oh, that was bad."
You didn't want to do the Stardust thing, so you ran away. Then you started a company that you couldn't get over in, and you ran away. Mm-hmm. And so that was taking some shots there at Cody. I was like, "Whoa, Roman!" But yeah, he told Cody he was the problem. That the idea of being an old school pro wrestler like their parents. Roman accused Cody of running away, as I just said, and that he can't handle being a sports entertainer like him, more or less. So they go back and forth, but then Cody said, quit talking about my father. My goal is to get the title that our family never had. And you tell me, what am I going to do come Monday morning, April 3rd? But really, what's going to happen to you when you wake up? Actually, was it this week, right? Where he said, wake up Monday morning and realize you're no longer champion for WWE. So I love this back and forth here. Cody said that, when he beats Roman at Mania, the Usos, Solo, and Heyman are all going to leave his side. Said Heyman's going to be an advocate again for Brock Lesnar. Roman dropped the mic and left. But as he's leaving, Solo was behind him. Roman called for Solo to come with him, but Cody grabbed him and told him he wasn't ready for this. And then Solo was going to do the Samoan Spike, but Roman jumped up, grabbed him, and said, "Come with me." And then they left. And you see like that off-air footage. He was like scolding Solo, like yelling. Roman was yelling at him as they're walking up the ramp to go to gorilla position. So I don't know, is that foreshadowing Solo might be frustrated with Roman's control over him? That could be something to look at afterwards as well. I did like seeing Cody hit Solo with the super kick in the ring. Yes. So very interesting here. I don't know. Like, I guess I'm liking the idea that we won't see them touch hands until WrestleMania. That's always interesting because that way, for us trying to predict what's going to happen, I think we always say, who's left standing at the end of the go home shows? If they don't touch each other and get into any physical altercation beforehand, it kind of really makes it tough to decide where the creative direction is going to go in this situation.
I hope they keep it that way, man, because if they touch each other, already they haven't even touched each other and people are already like, I don't know. I think Roman Reigns is going to, that's one thing I love about this match and the way it's been built, and really how all of the matches have been built, right? With the exception of a few, it's really anybody could win. Like there's no clear cut, usually you have a WrestleMania match and it's just like, this person's going to win. Right. And this match for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship is one of those matches where it's just like, man, it could really go either way. Right. Cody could, finish the story now, or he can continue chasing, and Roman could surpass the 1,000 days as champion. And, all of that is, it's man, I'm ready for it. I can't wait.
Yeah. So it's, man, so much to break down here. So, I will say this. So right now, Brian, I'm looking at Wikipedia and there's currently 13 matches announced for WrestleMania. And I think, let me see, if I had to guess, I'm guessing there's probably going to be 14 total. So it's 7 each night. Now, as of right now, it looks like Bray Wyatt versus Bobby Lashley is probably not going to happen. Bray's still not clear with his physical situation that he's dealing with right now. A lot of people are trying to figure out what's next for Bobby Lashley. It was announced on SmackDown this week that next week's episode of SmackDown from LA, the Go Home show, is going to have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal there. Bobby Lashley and LA Knight were both two of the participants listed in the graphic there. People are speculating maybe something happens there and then it leads to a match between the two of them at WrestleMania. Is that something you're all for? You want to see Bobby Lashley versus LA Knight?
No, just because it'll cause a mess on Twitter if, that ends up happening. And then, because then I feel like LA Knight needs as many wins as he could possibly get right now.
Yeah, he's been losing quite a bit.
And so does Bobby Lashley, right? Like, no way Bobby Lashley's gonna lose at WrestleMania, right? So like, I just feel like that's, and then even people, it's like people think it's a big deal that they're in the Battle Royal. Like, come on, like, why wouldn't they be in the Battle Royal, right? I feel like this is an opportunity for LA Knight to continue whatever path he's going down, whether it's, you know, having all these losses to eventually come up and, you know, he starts to figure out how to win, right? And then Bobby Lashley, I know he's, I've been looking on Twitter, he's the favorite to win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and you know, he can dominate and go on, and you know, it'll maybe reposition him somewhere with someone who, you know, us fans can really go, okay, Bobby Lashley's in a good position right now. Here's what I think real quick. I think that, you know, it's just everything is like happened, you know, like with Bray and his story and Uncle Howdy. I feel like Alexa Bliss's absence may have put whatever they had planned for that on hold, which then made them had to pivot and go with Bobby Lashley or Brock Lesnar, which may have messed up their story, right, going forward. And then obviously it seemed like Brock Lesnar was able to recover and get a WrestleMania. He was going to get a WrestleMania opponent one way or another, right? But yeah, I just feel like, you know, a lot of things change when one or more persons, you know, is either out due to injury or, you know, out for, you know, whatever other reason. So, you know, I feel like just wait it out. I know that people don't like that, to wait it out. They don't like being told that, but you know, everything will come together great.
I see there's like rumors float on Twitter that the Hurt Business might reunite. So who knows? See what happens there. I do want to mention on SmackDown, it was announced that Austin Theory versus John Cena for the U.S. title is going to be the first match on night number 1 of WrestleMania, which that's kind of exciting.
Man, I can't wait for that.
But then again, people online says, "Oh, I guess John Cena just wants to get out early, so he wants to pull a Brock Lesnar, get his match done, and leave."
I was gonna say, "Hey, Brock did it."
Which we heard one of the former writers revealed the other day. So yeah, it makes sense. If John Cena's busy, man, he's got, you know, movies to go film. I'm sure he's gonna fly in, do this, and leave. So whatever, that's fine. At least we get to see him on the card. So just be happy with that. Let's see. Seth Rollins, Logan Paul will also be on night number 1 so far. And then on Raw this week, we saw them have another altercation. Logan Paul was trying to host Impulsive TV, but Seth Rollins was, backstage in the truck controlling. He was controlling the music or. Where is it? Sorry, I just had it here.
He was messing with the mic.
That's right. Yeah. So Logan Paul, man, he's a pretty good heel, man. He was kind of saying some good stuff to the St. Louis crowd. But yeah, then his microphone started going out, but Seth Rollins was back there messing with it. Then he comes back. He comes out to the ring. And then, they start fighting each other. So at this point, I don't think there's not much else they could do to really set that match up. It's kind of set in stone. Logan Paul's being a good heel. Seth is the baby face here. So I anticipate Seth Rollins.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say the only thing Logan Paul can really do at this point is wow the crowd, right? Like he's done so far, you know, in his matches, obviously with The Miz and Roman, right? If he can hang with Roman, I know he's going to have a really good match with Seth Rollins. Yeah.
And so, with the only thing with Logan Paul is I wish he would just shut up when the music is going on. He was talking all over Seth Rollins' theme songs. Like, dude, be quiet. Let the music go. But then again, he is a heel in this situation. So let's see. The 6-woman tag match, Trish, Lita, Becky Lynch versus Damage Control. That's also going to be on night number 1. It looks like that's what Wikipedia says here. Let's see. On Raw this week, we saw Rhea Ripley cut a promo. Damage Control interrupted her, and it led to a match between Rhea Ripley and Bayley. Rhea not in her ring gear, just in her street clothes. Pretty good match. Then we saw Lita, Trish, and Becky come out with popcorn and kind of egging them on. So just kind of add some more fuel to the fire here. let's see. And then night number 2, as we know, Roman versus Cody Rhodes. The rest of the card, though, there's 9 other matches listed here, but we don't know when they're going to happen yet. Charlotte versus Rhea. So I just mentioned Rhea. She cut a promo on Raw this week before she got interrupted by Damage Control. Ultimately, all she said, though, her and Charlotte had their fight on SmackDown the week before, and they got the pull apart. But this week, Rhea just said that, Charlotte is getting old and, her time's up. I just had the quote here. Oh, there we go. Rhea came out and said Charlotte was washed up and that she won't be able to keep Rhea down any longer. And then on SmackDown this week, Charlotte had like a rebuttal, her own promo this week on SmackDown. And she was talking about, respect and insecurities, and said that she was continuing her dad's legacy and that diamonds were forever before walking out. And said that, she's going to make Rhea, she's going to prove to Rhea she made the wrong choice by picking her from winning the Royal Rumble. So what do you think about both their promos here? I feel it's a little flat. I feel like Rhea is not stressing that, like, I lost to you 3 years ago. That's been on my mind. Even though I've been successful, won titles since then, that's like the one thing in my career that I need to fix is get a win over you. I feel like, but maybe they're avoiding Rhea saying that because that's such a babyface type of mentality. Right. And Rhea's supposed to be the heel here. So maybe they're just avoiding Rhea saying that to maintain her being a heel. And I guess Charlotte, she could be cocky and be like, I'll beat you again. But maybe that could come off more of like a heelish type promo. So maybe it's just because the roles are reversed right now. I don't know. What do you think? I feel like they're missing some key points here, but they're avoiding to say these in the promo because of how they're being presented as baby faces and heels here.
Yeah, it's a strange situation for both of them because, Charlotte supposed to be being the baby face here and Rhea Ripley being the heel, but we all know that, really the reason why Rhea Ripley, she said it, shortly after winning her Royal Rumble match that she, wanted to basically get her win back and from losing with Charlotte, right? So we all know that that's the reason why. And then Charlotte is just naturally, that she does kind of want to have her foot down on Rhea Ripley. Like, no, stay down. Like, you don't deserve to be up here with me at the top. I'm the queen, right? And naturally, that's just what it is. And it's hard because you don't want Charlotte to necessarily go out there and say that, like you said, because then it'll come off heelish. She's supposed to be babyface, at least I think. I don't know. She kind of, she was trying to combat the what chance in her promo, and she kind of came off a little heelish a little bit. So, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where I feel like, and I'm gonna blame this on Ronda Rousey. I feel like the whole Ronda Rousey situation and the uncertainty on what was gonna go on with her and happen with her, and Charlotte basically having to come back and snatch the title off of her so quickly like that. It kind of made this whole situation a little difficult, but. I know we all know that the match is going to deliver. Rhea Ripley's been on a whole nother level. I hope she brings it. I know the queen's going to bring it.
So, so we'll see how that goes. Bianca Belair versus Asuka. This week, though, we saw the two of them team up in a match against Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. What happened to Carmella? Is she just gone right now? Like, I don't know. Her and Chelsea were a team. Yeah.
And I read that Chelsea is what did I read? She's gonna be partnering with someone else.
With Sonya Deville.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what happened to her. I don't know.
I hope everything's okay. So
yeah.
But yeah, Bianca and Asuka defeat Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, but then it led to the two of them. Can they coexist? Well, they couldn't. As a tag team, they started fighting each other after the match. So I'm like, okay, Asuka wins Elimination Chamber, new number one contender for the Raw Women's Championship. Her and Bianca have a stare down. Asuka's blue liquid comes out of her mask, or it's dripping out of her mouth. They have a little tug of war of the title, and they have this little fight here. I'm like, that's it? That's really the story? Like, I wish there was more to this. And that's something you and I were talking off the air. I feel like both women's championships haven't had a lot of substance to their story. So I don't know. I mean, I will be doing an interview with Bianca Belair this week, so keep an eye on that. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to maybe ask her that question, without, I don't know. I'll figure out some way to word it. But Brock Lesnar, Omos, let's see. I'm trying to remember, did they, let me double check. Omos, had a match with Mustafa Ali, kind of a squash match. So it's good, kind of give Omos some more TV time just to kind of reinforce that he's a monster. I did enjoy the tail of the tape video package for them. That was great. And I guess on Raw this week, they're going to have a weigh-in segment, supposedly. Yep. So see how that goes. Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre. So on SmackDown this week, they had the contract signing. But Sheamus, man, he was venting to Drew. He's pissed off at him for like trying to take his spot. And it's not fair. He knows how much winning the IC title means to Sheamus, but like Drew's trying to take his spotlight, take his title. I don't know. Sheamus sounded a little heelish here. But then again, I do understand his frustration. I don't know. What do you think about that promo? And then ultimately led to Gunther coming out and, they signed the contract and led to a match between Gunther and Butch. But what do you think about that dynamic of that contract signing?
It was, it makes you think about, okay, again, unpredictable, right? I know that Sheamus really, really, really wants the Intercontinental Championship, right? I think Drew knows how important winning the Intercontinental title and beating Gunther is, right? And I know that they're basically trying to paint that picture. They're trying to, show that story. And I don't know, you could look at it like Sheamus is coming off a little heelish, or maybe he's just that desperate, like he's that he's frustrated, frustrated in a way, fed up, like maybe he does feel betrayed, like come on, like this is what I wanted, this is mine, like this is, you've been an Intercontinental Champion before, like we're supposed to be buddies. But then Drew also made a point saying that, hey, after last week, we should have been at the bar, drinking beers, and we should have been having a good time. We shouldn't have been fighting. We shouldn't be in this position right now, right? So, and when you hear Drew put it that way, it kind of does make you look at Sheamus like the heel, like, oh, maybe Sheamus, maybe you're being a little too salty here, Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see what happens. So I'm looking forward to that. That's probably one of my most anticipated matches for WrestleMania weekend. So it should be a lot of fun.
I got reminded during that segment. I forget that triple threats are no DQ. So I'm just like, oh, okay, wow. Like I who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? Again, another match where it's just unpredictable. Like all three guys you'd love to see win, right? And I would think that this is going to put whoever it is in a position to, win, lose, or draw for all that. Something special's coming up for whoever will leave in WrestleMania Intercontinental Champion, right? So
early prediction, I wonder Gunther will pin Drew McIntyre. Gunther retains, and then let Gunther go on continue on his title reign, beat Honky Tonk's record, which I think would be around September, around Clash at the Castle, and then let Sheamus and Gunther have their rematch and let Sheamus beat him there. After Gunther's beaten the record, Sheamus then can be new IC championship, and that's the last title he needs to be an official Grand Slam champion in WWE's books. Yeah, and then on Raw this week, we saw Edge's floating head in like in the black background with the candles, whatever. Kind of look a little goofy. It was a little pixelated video, but he more or less he more or less told Finn, bring your demon, like bring the demon to the Hell in a Cell match. Edge kind of hinting. I mean, there's rumors now that Gangrel might be part of his entrance. So a little Brood, old school Brood entrance. Yeah. So that'd be cool to see. Let's see. As we know, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez won their match last week. They're part of the Women's WrestleMania Showcase 4-way tag team match this week on SmackDown. Natty and Shotzi won their match against was it Xia Li and Xia Li and Lacey Evans.
Yeah.
And then at the end, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler come out and call out the Las Vegas crowd. So hey, we've done so much for you guys, and you boo us. And but they just said, oh, they're part of the match as well. So I guess they didn't have to. They had to fight to earn their spot. They just were automatically added to the match. All right. So
I guess so.
I guess they're my favorite to win that match now.
Adam Pearce playing favorites, I see.
Exactly. And then let's see, on Raw. Was it Raw this week? But yeah, we all know the men's WrestleMania Showcase Fatal 4-way tag team match is going to have Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus Street Profits, Alpha Academy, and the Viking Raiders. Alpha Academy, man, little miscommunication going on. You know, Chad Gable, Montez Ford lost to Austin Theory. But Chad Gable had a match with Ricochet. Otis was by his side, but then when oh my God, from the models,
Dupree
came out and got his attention and had him walk away from the ring, man. So Alpha Academy, man, not on the same page. I'm a little worried about Otis, he's worried about women and not worried about his buddy and, the eye on the prize. So we'll see how that plays out. Mm-hmm. And then we talked earlier, Usos versus Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn for the tag titles. And then last thing we'll talk about SmackDown this week. Rey Mysterio had a match with LA Knight. Yeah. After their little altercation backstage last week. LA Knight picks up the win after Dominic came out, cost his dad the match. Dominic grabs the microphone. His mom and sister were sitting ringside, once again telling his mom that Ray, their dad, is her husband's a deadbeat father. And his mom grabbed the mic and was trying to talk back to him, but then Dominic grabbed the mic again and said, "Shut up, Mom." And that was the final straw, man. Ray came back down the ramp, finally hit his son. The crowd erupted, grabbed the microphone, says, "How dare you talk to your mom like that? That's my wife. And yes, I will accept your challenge and fight you at WrestleMania." So it's official. Father versus son, Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. Your thoughts on this match finally happening?
I'm happy, man. I'm happy. Dominic's come a long way. I'll never forget everyone saying he needed to go back to NXT.
Or go to NXT, yeah.
He needed to go to NXT. They saw him and Ray in NXT. They're like, he needs to stay there. He's done so well. I think he needed to just get a little bit more comfortable from a character standpoint. He needed to get some charisma, man. Like he's got it. And now he gets to mix it up with his dad. And who better to, make his son look good, right? Because I think that's ultimately what Dominic needs, right? Is he needs someone in there to make him look good. We all know what Ray can do. This is going to be special, man. The story behind it too. This might be, the number 2 or number 3 biggest story going into WrestleMania from WWE.
Yeah. I mean, it's a family affair, man. What's going on here? So I'm still worried or concerned or just curious how the Hall of Fame is going to play out. Is Dominic still going to affect his his Hall of Fame speech and all that stuff? So we'll see that. We should be in the building for that in person. So
yes,
exciting, man. So about time. Rey Mysterio versus his son. Can't wait to see how that plays out. Exciting stuff, man. So like I said, it looks like 13 matches so far listed. I anticipate probably one more will be added. So it'll be 7 and 7 on both nights, 14 total. My guess is maybe going to be Bobby Lashley or LA Knight somehow in the mix for that. The Miz will be hosting WrestleMania. That's going to be interesting. See how that goes. So, man, lots of to look forward to. So let's go ahead and call it a wrap right here. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Make sure you subscribe to us. Brian, I guess, let's see. Let's maybe try to do, while from LA, let's do some sort of predictions, podcast from down there, since we'll be in the house for the go home shows there. Right. So yeah, look forward to Stand Deliver. We'll do a review for that, review for WrestleMania, all that good stuff, bunch of interviews. So just keep an eye out. This week's going to be busy with a lot of great content. So please follow us. When you loaded. Absolutely. Brian, where can the Kliqsters find you online?
Kliqsters, you guys can find me at BrianTronic on Twitter and Instagram.
And I'm Baby Huey. Follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey83. For everything else, just follow us at In The Kliq on social media. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, especially on YouTube. Please do us a big solid there. And if you want to email us, inthekliq@gmail.com. We'll see you at WrestleMania. If you're going, let us know. Maybe do some sort of meetup. I don't know, something. Please let us know where you're going to be at WrestleMania in person. That we'll love to meet the Kliqsters down there. And on that note, let's go home. And that's the bottom line, because Huey said so.